Welcome back, guys. In this episode, I'm going to teach you guys how to use strings, what they are, ints, floats, devils. What else, Link? What else should I teach them?
Let's see. I'm lost here.
And I'll teach you about some of the things that Fing has in the game. This is really just a big modding tutorial on how to mod AOT, get yourself started into C#, and to go from there. So, let me just open this up. Okay, so this is a class called in-room chat, and this is where when in-game you see everyone typing and chatting and you can see all that, right? Well, public means other classes can see this class. If I made this class public and static, which I'm not going to, but if I did that, it would mean that you can access anything within that class already from another class. However, making it public only lets the other classes see it, not access the things within, without making an instance of it or something similar. Photon.monoBehavior is the child class. In-room chat inherits everything from Photon monoBehavior, so anything in Photon monoBehavior you can use in in-room chat. Okay, when you make something public, it can be seen from other classes, like I've already said. Static means it can be changed or used or anything like that from other classes. However, if you make like a public bool and it's not static, we can use the information of the bool from another class, but the only way to be able to change it would be come back to this class or to make an instance of this class in the other class. So there's bools, which is like a switch, turns things on, turns things off. Or you can check to see if things are on or off. Strings are just like words. It's just a set of characters, and it's just like text. It's just like text. That's basically all it is. I'll get into this later. I'll get into those later. Okay, here's a float is a number. I should probably talk about ints first. Ints are basically just numbers. Anything from, I think it's negative like 1 million all the way to like, I don't remember. But they're whole numbers. You can't use decimals. You can use decimals with floats and doubles. Doubles go 2 places out of the next to the period or the decimal place. Floats can do the same. Floats can go on and on. But yeah. Now, I'm not going to talk about that yet. Let me give an example of, these are 2 things that I've added. Actually, hold on, let me just, I've added hold on. I've added all these. These are voids. Well, okay. There's 4 voids, or methods, or functions, or really whatever you want to call them. And it's kind of hard to explain, but system is a namespace. And if you think of a class and a namespace, it's kind of like a namespace is like a library. No. A namespace is more like a bunch of libraries. A class is kind of like a library, and then all the functions within that class are like books. Each line of code is kind of like each page of the book. So if if you're in the system, in this group of libraries, and you go to collections, which is a class, then you can go to the function IEnumerator, and then you can call that, and you can use what it's default for. Like, say I make there's got to be an easier way to explain this. How can I explain this, Link?
Explain what?
Classes, namespaces, and then just blocks of code. I think the example I gave is pretty good. I think they'll understand it when it's more like that.
I liked it.
So, what I like to do when I write code is when I have variables or fields, whatever you want to call them, I like to make a region. And if you don't have Visual Studio, you're going to be completely lost. You won't have any idea what I'm talking about. You're going to want to get Visual Studio. I got Express for Windows Desktop because it downloaded in probably an hour, whereas I think it was, which one do you have, Link? Community?
Yeah, I have Community 2015.
Yeah, I got Community for 2013, and it took like 2.5 hours to download. So I recommend Express. It's quicker. You have all the things you can use. It's really great. So when I write code, what I like to do is I like to make a region. And to do that, you can just go do a hashtag or a pound sign, whatever you want to call it. Type region. Then go to the bottom of whatever you want. Make another hashtag or pound sign, or really whatever it is. Whatever you want to call that thing. And then you do end region. And I think I'll explain IntelliSense in a second. Let me make another space up here. And then you can name the region. When you're naming a region, the characters when you first start typing them should be white. If you're doing a comment-like name, like I always do, make sure they're white, because if they're green, it's going to go to the bottom and it's going to be right next to end region. So we're going to call this functions. And then regions are just to help you separate code. Like I have a friend who makes regions for his commands for each in alphabetical order, which is pretty cool. So now we have all the functions that are in-room chat all in one little region. So we can call this RC functions because, well, actually no, let's just call it functions. Now, let me teach you the basics of a string. We're going to go through each type, strings, ints, bools, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to explain it to you. Let me make a void real quick. But I'm going to make it private. Private void. Say my name. And if you notice that there's lowercase and then uppercase, that's called camel case. I learned about it from just by reading code and listening to other coders talk about it. It's called camel case because you start out small and you get bigger, and then you can go smaller at the end. It's recommended to type this way. Don't ask me why. I have no idea the specifics of it. And then you make your braces or brackets. I like to call them brackets. They're curly brackets. These are square brackets. Those are used for arrays and indexing, that kind of thing. So we're going to go back up to our fields. And let's make a field called, let's make a public static string, which means, just a second, let me type it right. This public static string means that I can access this and edit it in any other class. So, and then when you type out the type, after you've done doing the type and what kind it is, you can put the name. So you can put the name of the string, like say my name. So we're gonna do name. No, we're gonna do my name, like that, equals Robbie, and then semicolon. So in this void or function, whatever you want to call it, or method, you can do, and since we're already in room chat, I'm going to go ahead and do add line, which is right above us. I'll go to that in just a second. And the parameters for add line is a string, and since we have a string, we put my name in it. Now, when you call the method or function say my name, it's going to put your name in the GUI or in chat. I'll explain GUIs later. So let's go make a little command that does this. If you haven't seen my video, I showed you how to make a command that sends hello everyone to everyone in the chat. I'll explain how it works and how everything works with it. Now let's do if input line. IntelliSense is what's popping up whenever you type something. It's finding every instance of the word input, like what you type in. So if we're looking for input line, which is a field in room chat, it's a string. You just hit enter when you click on it with your arrow keys. If this input line equals slash name.
I'll be right back.
Okay. My name. Now here's another little tidbit of advice. If you're only doing one thing, if it only takes one line of code, you don't need the brackets. You don't need them. If it's just one, you can perfectly well do this. Now it looks kind of weird, and the errors are still there because it's kind of laggy, but that doesn't error. See, so what this is going to do is when you type slash my name and you hit enter, it's going to go in and it's going to do this code. And in that code, we've already set it to put my name in the chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and build it. Now you can use the keybinds. You can hit F7. You can just hit start if you really want to. I like coming up to build and hitting build. There's actually a lot of things you can do. Like if this isn't here, if the error list or the output isn't there, you can go to view, and then you can find error list, or you can do Control WE, whatever. I normally like to see the output and the error list because a lot of the time output will tell you debug log problems, no reference exceptions, things like this. So, oh, and what else is there? I'll explain. Let me go ahead and build it. I'm gonna explain enumerators, what they do. I'll explain other types that Fing has, like color and these kind of things. Fing made the Attack on Titan tribute game with Unity. It's another game engine, and it's just like, it's similar to Unreal Engine, except that I would say Unreal Engine is better, in my honest opinion. I'll have a link in the description to some games and some footage by Unreal Engine.